The year is 1396. Europe faces a new threat. The Ottoman Empire, a rising power from the east, pushes into the Balkans. Their goal: conquer Constantinople, the heart of the Byzantine Empire and the last bastion of Christianity in the east. Pope Boniface IX calls for a crusade. Knights from across Europe answer the call. The stage is set for one of history's most dramatic confrontations, the Battle of Nicopolis. On one side stood the flower of European chivalry, heavily armored knights dreaming of glory and driven by religious zeal. On the other side stood the Ottoman army, a disciplined force of Janissaries, Sipahis, and irregular troops, led by the ambitious and ruthless Sultan Bayezid I, known as the Thunderbolt. Their faith was in Islam, their loyalty to their Sultan, their objective, the domination of the Balkans and beyond. The stakes could not have been higher. The fate of the Byzantine Empire hung in the balance, as did the future of Christian Europe. A Crusader victory could stem the Ottoman tide and buy time for the beleaguered Byzantines. An Ottoman victory would open the door to further conquests in the heart of Europe, with potentially devastating consequences for the Christian world. Nicopolis, a fortress city on the Danube River, would be the stage for this epic encounter. The clash of arms that was about to unfold would not be a mere footnote in the annals of history. The call to arms spread like wildfire across Europe. Pope Boniface IX promised indulgences, forgiveness for past sins, to all who joined the crusade. The French answered the call in great numbers, led by the young and ambitious John the Fearless, Duke of Burgundy. Alongside him rode seasoned warriors like Jean le Mangre, known as Boucicaut, a knight renowned for his military prowess. From Hungary, King Sigismund, later Holy Roman Emperor, pledged his support. He recognized the Ottoman threat to his own kingdom. The Venetian and Genoese fleets patrolled the waterways, cutting off Ottoman supply lines and aiming to trap Bayezid's forces. The Crusaders, confident in their numbers and their cause, marched towards Nicopolis, eager to meet the enemy in battle. Their journey was not without its challenges. Supplies dwindled, and tensions rose between the various contingents. Despite these difficulties, the Crusader army pressed on, their spirits buoyed by their faith and the prospect of victory. As they approached Nicopolis, scouts brought news of the Ottoman army, larger than anyone had anticipated, camped near the fortress city. The stage was set for a battle that would test their faith and their courage to the limit. Word of the Crusader army's advance reached Bayezid as he besieged Constantinople. The news infuriated him. He considered the Crusaders a nuisance, an unwelcome distraction from his main objective. Bayezid was not a man to be trifled with. Known as the Thunderbolt for his swift and decisive action, he was a brilliant military strategist and a ruthless leader. Leaving a token force to maintain the siege of Constantinople, Bayezid rallied his troops and marched to meet the Crusader threat. His army was a diverse force, drawn from across the vast Ottoman domains. At its core were the Janissaries, an elite infantry force recruited from Christian boys and trained from a young age to be loyal and fearless warriors. They were armed with muskets and cannons, weapons still relatively new to European warfare and far more advanced than anything the Crusaders possessed. Alongside the Janissaries rode the Sipahis, the Ottoman cavalry, renowned for their speed and maneuverability. Bayezid, a master strategist, planned to use the terrain to his advantage. He would lure the Crusaders into a trap from which there would be no escape. The two armies converged near the fortress city of Nicopolis on September 25, 1396. The sight that greeted them was both awe-inspiring and terrifying. The Crusader army, a sea of colorful banners and gleaming armor, stretched as far as the eye could see. Facing them, on a plateau overlooking the battlefield, stood the Ottoman army. Estimates of their numbers vary, but they likely outnumbered the Crusaders, perhaps by as much as 2 to 1. Their ranks included the elite Janissaries, their muskets and cannons glinting in the sun, and the swift Sipahi cavalry, their horses pawing the ground with restless energy. The Ottoman army, though lacking the shining armor of the Crusaders, was a disciplined and battle-hardened force. The tension in the air was palpable. Both sides knew that this was no mere skirmish, but a battle that would decide the fate of nations. The Crusaders, eager for glory and driven by religious zeal, prepared to meet the enemy head-on. The Ottomans, disciplined and loyal to their Sultan, waited patiently for the Crusaders to make their move. The Battle of Nicopolis, a clash of civilizations, of religions, of ways of life, was about to begin. The battle began with a thunderous roar as the Crusader army, spurred on by their eagerness for glory, charged across the open ground towards the Ottoman lines. The French knights, impetuous and eager to prove their valor, led the charge. They crashed into the Ottoman vanguard with irresistible force, their lances shattering shields and their swords hacking through flesh and bone. The initial Crusader assault was a fearsome spectacle, a testament to the martial prowess of the heavily armored knights. The Ottoman front lines, composed mainly of irregular troops and mercenaries, buckled under the onslaught. Emboldened by their early success, the Crusaders pressed their attack with even greater fervor. However, they failed to notice the subtle maneuvers of the Ottoman commanders, the way the Janissaries, armed with their deadly muskets and cannons, were being repositioned on the flanks. As the Crusaders surged forward, their ranks became disordered. They had allowed their initial success to cloud their judgment, to blind them to the dangers that lurked ahead. They had fallen into Bayezid's trap. Just when the Crusaders seemed on the verge of breaking through the Ottoman lines, disaster struck. Bayezid unleashed his secret weapon, a contingent of Serbian heavy cavalry, led by Prince Stefan Lazarevic, who had pledged allegiance to the Ottomans. Their sudden appearance on the battlefield, charging into the Crusader flank with thunderous force, threw the already disordered Crusader ranks into complete disarray. The Serbian cavalry, fresh and eager to prove their loyalty to their new Ottoman overlords, cut through the Crusader ranks like a hot knife through butter. The Crusaders, already exhausted from their initial charge and their desperate fight against the Ottoman infantry, were ill-prepared for this new onslaught. Panic began to spread through their ranks as they realized the true extent of their predicament. The Ottoman commanders, sensing the Crusaders' wavering resolve, seized the initiative. The Janissaries, their ranks bolstered by fresh troops, unleashed a devastating volley of musket fire into the Crusader ranks, mowing down men by the score. The Sipahi cavalry, held in reserve until this crucial moment, charged into the fray, their scimitars flashing in the sunlight as they cut down any Crusader foolish enough to stand in their way. The Crusader army, once so full of confidence and zeal, was now a broken and demoralized rabble. Despite the chaos and the overwhelming odds, many Crusader knights refused to yield. Surrounded and outnumbered, they fought with the courage of desperation, their heavy armor and sharp swords their only defense against the relentless Ottoman onslaught. They formed small, determined bands, selling their lives dearly as they fought to protect their fallen comrades and salvage some honor from the wreckage of defeat. One such group, led by the valiant Jean de Vienne, Admiral of France, made a desperate stand on a small hill, their backs to the Danube River, escape cut off by the victorious Ottoman army. They fought with the fury of cornered lions, their courage a testament to the chivalric ideals that had brought them to this distant battlefield. But their valor was not enough to turn the tide. Outnumbered and outmaneuvered, they fought bravely to the end, their bodies forming a mound of slain heroes on the blood-soaked ground. The young John the Fearless, Duke of Burgundy, found himself surrounded and on the verge of capture. He fought with the reckless abandon of youth, his sword flashing as he cut down one opponent after another. The battlefield at Nicopolis was a scene of unimaginable carnage. Aftermath of defeat Nicopolis and its consequences. The sun set on a scene of utter devastation. The Crusader army was no more, its remnants scattered, captured or slain. The Ottoman victory was complete, their dominance in the region cemented in the blood of their enemies. Bayezid, his wrath appeased by the slaughter, ordered his troops to round up the survivors. Thousands of Crusader prisoners were herded together, their fate uncertain. The next morning, Bayezid, seated upon a throne of captured Crusader standards, surveyed his captives. He was in a foul mood, angered by the losses his army had sustained, particularly among his beloved Janissaries. In a fit of rage, he ordered the execution of the majority of the Crusader prisoners. The massacre at Nicopolis cast a long shadow over Europe. The flower of French chivalry lay dead on a distant battlefield, their bones left to bleach in the sun. The legend of Nicopolis, a turning point in history. The Battle of Nicopolis, a resounding Ottoman victory, marked a turning point in the history of southeastern Europe. It shattered the illusion of Crusader invincibility and signaled the end of large-scale Western European military intervention in the region. The Ottoman Empire, now unchallenged, would continue its expansion into the Balkans, eventually conquering Constantinople in 1453 and establishing itself as a major power in the region for centuries to come. The battle also had a profound psychological impact on both East and West. For the Ottomans, Nicopolis was a source of immense pride, a testament to their military might and the righteousness of their cause. It solidified Bayezid's reputation as a brilliant military leader and a ruthless conqueror, striking fear into the hearts of his enemies. In Western Europe, news of the defeat at Nicopolis was met with shock, grief, and a good deal of soul-searching. The massacre of the Crusader prisoners, a brutal act even by the standards of the time, sent shockwaves through Christendom, generating fear and resentment towards the Ottomans. Nicopolis became a cautionary tale, a reminder of the dangers of overconfidence, of underestimating the enemy, and of the fickle nature of fate. The end of an era, the waning of the crusading spirit. The disaster at Nicopolis had a chilling effect on the crusading spirit in Western Europe. The loss of so many noble knights, many of them from prominent families, dealt a severe blow to the enthusiasm for such ventures. The gruesome stories told by the few survivors, tales of Ottoman ruthlessness and the massacre of prisoners, painted a grim picture of the enemy and the risks involved in confronting them. The papacy, which had for centuries championed the cause of the Crusades, found its calls for action met with increasing indifference. The kings and princes of Europe, preoccupied with their own internal struggles and rivalries, were reluctant to commit their resources to what many now perceived as a lost cause. The dream of reclaiming the Holy Land from Muslim control, a dream that had motivated generations of Crusaders, seemed more distant and unattainable than ever. The rise of the Ottoman Empire, a powerful and expansionist state with a sophisticated military machine, presented a new and more immediate threat to European interests. The focus shifted from the distant struggle against Islam in the Holy Land to the more pressing need to defend Christian Europe from Ottoman aggression. The age of the Crusades, a period of intense religious fervor and military expansion, was drawing to a close. Legacy of Nicopolis, echoes in the East and West. The echoes of the Battle of Nicopolis reverberated through the corridors of history, leaving an indelible mark on both East and West. In the East, the Ottoman victory paved the way for their eventual conquest of Constantinople and their emergence as a major power in the Mediterranean world. The battle also solidified their reputation as a formidable military force, capable of defeating the best armies that Europe could muster. In the West, Nicopolis served as a stark reminder of the limits of military power and the dangers of overconfidence. It shattered the illusion of Crusader invincibility and led to a period of introspection, a reassessment of the crusading ideal and the tactics employed in warfare. The defeat also contributed to the decline of the feudal order, as the loss of so many knights weakened the power of the nobility and accelerated the rise of centralized monarchies. The memory of Nicopolis lived on in European art, literature, and folklore, often depicted as a cautionary tale of hubris and the tragic consequences of underestimating the enemy. The battle also served as a source of inspiration for Ottoman chroniclers and poets, who celebrated the victory as a testament to the power of Islam and the leadership of Bayezid the Thunderbolt. The Battle of Nicopolis, a clash of civilizations, religions, and military tactics, remains a pivotal event in world history.